Hello and welcome to Joey and Friends. My name is Joey and I'm here with my friend Roni. Hi, Roni.
Hi.
In reality, we just got done recording the podcast you're about to listen to, but I just wanted to make a quick prerequisite of what we just shared because it was a very free-flowing conversation. We went a lot of different places. It's very brainy, very intellectual, had a lot to do with definitions.
Bring a notepad.
And the word, yes, honestly, bring a notepad. I had a notepad out while we were doing this.
Can you take a screenshot of that and send it to me?
No, because it's too, it's to you or to the listeners?
I wanted to post it.
Okay. It's very scattered.
That's okay.
Okay, all right. It is real and authentic. What I wanted to say was, it takes us a little while to kind of state this explicitly.
Yes.
But we both hold to a Christian sexual ethic.
Yes. Yeah.
You and I really like kind of playing around words and kind of like experimenting with not saying the actual thing and challenging what it is that we're saying. And I think for a new person coming in, it's like, it can be very what are you saying?
Yeah, I think it's because we both come from the understanding that we believe the same foundational truths.
Yes.
We do away with what is seemingly obvious.
Yes.
We know what we believe about the Christian ethic and God and Jesus. We love him, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, now talking about the actual topic.
Totally.
And that's how we approach the conversation.
It's the beauty of a friendship.
Yes.
Is like,
exactly.
we both have a shared foundation of what we think.
Right.
And so we don't have to say it every time. We can just start talking about whatever
But
it is.
for those who may not know, because it does take us a while to get there.
Yes.
We do hold to the standard Christian sexual ethic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening. I think you're gonna have a good time. We're Roni and Joey. Enjoy the show.
Peace.
This is a first for me. I've never recorded a podcast this late at night. It is
Joey and Friends After Hours.
8:56 p.m.
So late.
It will be 10:15 probably by the time we're getting done.
Probably.
I don't know what kind of energy I'm going to bring to this. I feel both hyper and tired.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah.
I'm a big top of the morning guy as far as just my peak. I peak around 9, I'd say, and it's all downhill from there.
I'd maybe say I'm similar. Recently, I've been having crazy midday crashes, like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. From between
you eating
the
a lot of
hours
sugar
of like
for breakfast?
12 and actually maybe a little bit, but not really. Yeah. I don't know. I think I just also need to sleep more. How about that?
Yeah,
probably.
Then I get a tight 7 hours, 7-8 hours every night, pretty much. Not to brag.
I'm like a 6 to 7 hours, but my body naturally wakes up at that time anyway. And then usually I find that if I try to catch up on sleep, I wake up more tired than I was before.
Yes, definitely.
So
definitely. Apparently, unfortunately, that is not how it works. Consistent going to bed, as consistent as you can be going to bed and getting up.
Yeah, that
is like the healthiest. I'm consistent with when I get up, not when I go to bed, unfortunately.
Well, today it's gonna be a rager.
We're in the happy time of the year again, which is we've passed the time change, and there is now light in the world.
Got you.
I feel myself coming alive. I feel like
summer's
okay.
returned.
Here's our opening topic. We didn't have an opening topic. Here it is. I feel like the older I get, the more impacted I am by the seasons. The seasons in general, but yes, specifically daylight savings, where like I get so sad and grumpy. And you know me, Roni. I'm not a sad or grumpy person.
Joey is joy from
a bundle of joy.
Inside out.
Yeah. Generally speaking. Yeah. But yeah, lately, like November, December, January, February, I'm like, when is it summer again?
I'm meeting more and more people like you. Yeah. I think, and I'm sure a lot of Brits will disagree with me because everyone is an individual, but I feel like if you grow up in a place that is naturally more dreary, you just kind of are used to it. Like there is a different level of like invigoration. Like my peak months are probably April, May, June.
I would say so as well.
Because it starts to get warm, but summer I'm like a cooked ham. It's too hot. I'm sweating way too much. It's unpleasant for everybody involved.
No, I think I'm like more like June, July, August.
Oh, you know what?
Maybe September.
Yeah, August. Okay, September.
August, my birth month. So big fan of August.
I'm a November baby, so I naturally, and I also love Christmas.
Yeah.
So I love
Christmas, but
I guess my point
I kind of like made a nasty face at Christmas, and I don't know why I did that.
Jesus is crying, and you should apologize.
Anyway.
No, the reason I said my comment about being from a drearier place is because I didn't know what seasonal depression was.
Oh, yeah.
Before people, and so I'd be like, the rain is having that much of an effect on your mood. And I still, like, I obviously feel more alive when it's sunny. I think that's just kind of like a natural human response.
Totally.
But I don't really get affected by the seasons that much. I'm pretty consistent.
I think you can acclimate. I was talking to my friend Avery. She's from here. She was a missionary with YWAM in England. And she said her first 6 months there, she was like...
She was in bed.
Like super depressed.
Yeah.
And that she had to take like vitamin D.
Yeah.
I was going to say C, and I'm glad I didn't.
Okay.
Well, then I just revealed that I was going to say C, so it's all null and void. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome everyone to Joey and Friends. I don't even know if I said it. Hello and welcome. Welcome to the pod.
Yeah.
After Hours podcast.
After Hours. Hopefully I'll learn to finish a sentence this time. I realized listening to the last episode that I talk slower than my thoughts come up in my brain. So I'll start a sentence.
Yeah.
And then never finish it. Or start a thought and like kind of finish it, but not really.
Yeah. Periods are important.
Yeah, I'll try. Grammar was never
it
my
helps
strong
with
suit.
clips.
It's
harder to make a clip when there's no kind of you're like, I need a period to end this thought.
Grammar was never my strong suit. So I
feel
try.
like that's such a lie. You're so good at grammar.
I write poetry to avoid grammar rules.
Yeah. I actually like grammar a lot.
I want to like grammar. Anyway,
okay, Sabrina Carpenter. Okay, so here's the backstory. We recorded a podcast a couple months, like a month or two ago, and I had like an opening topic that I wanted to hit on, and we just ended up talking about it for an hour. And I think part of the reason it was so long is because we were not prepared to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're basically just we're
doing
taking
it again,
we're running
but
it back
professionally.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna kind of go in with the same setup that I initially had.
I'm not nervous.
And we're just gonna see where it ends up. What if what I'm actually having to say is nothing to do with the notes that you've written down?
I have, for anyone watching, several pages of notes here.
Yeah, look at that. That was 5 scrolls, and not even like top to bottom, like a swipey scroll. Like you're like scrolling through content.
Yeah.
Okay, so here was the prompt. This is my reflection. I was thinking about Sabrina Carpenter. I think she's a fascinating artist. Fascinating doesn't mean good. It doesn't mean I think she is good, and we'll get into that. But I just want to be clear about what I am saying.
Yeah,
she's a fascinating artist. It doesn't necessarily mean good. It doesn't mean God honoring or in line with my personal beliefs and values.
Fair.
I think she's an interesting artist, and here's why. She started out as a Disney Channel star.
Yes.
So sure, her breakout was Girl Meets World. She might have had a few something before, I don't know, but she's on Girl Meets World with Rowan Blanchard. And because of the power of Disney, she's just kind of like everywhere immediately, right?
Yeah.
And then she has that thing where she puts out a pop album that all Disney Channel stars do. I think most of them fall into total obscurity, kind of. Maybe not most, but there's only so many Miley Cyruses. There's only so many Olivia Rodrigos. Yeah. Like,
do you have an obscure Disney song that like lives in your head?
Oh, obscure. Well,
or like fell out of relevancy.
Oh yeah. I have some good examples of this. From my era, Emily Osment.
Oh my gosh, I forgot that.
She had a song that was associated with some Disney Channel original movie that no one's
thought
about in 10 years.
She was bullied.
No, it was a scary movie.
Oh.
And the song, well, scary for Disney Channel. Like, it was fine.
Yeah.
Graveyard. And
right.
It was called I Don't Think About It. And that will get stuck in my head every now and then. And there's a few other. Mitchell Musso was a person.
Yeah, Mitchell Musso. I hope he's okay.
I haven't thought about him in a long time.
The one song that is honestly the tail end of my era of Disney is it Bella Thorne?
Yeah, that sounds right.
He's like, beep, 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 my BFF, because IDK, what's coming? Like, that song will just...
I've, never heard that.
Yeah.
But I think it is the kind of, it's almost like if you've never heard music before.
Dang.
And you're like...
Joey is just a bit of a savage.
You just hear, Pop Candy.
Yeah.
And your ears are like...
Yeah.
Whoa, I want to listen to that 100 times in a row.
Yeah.
And then you get older and you learn what good music sounds like.
Yeah. But anyway.
And then beyond that, there's Camp Rock or like Hannah Montana, High School Musical, the like the dance. One of my favorite running. I love when stuff goes dormant for like 10 years and then just comes back
the
again.
Crazy thing is, Alison Stoner is actually a fantastic dancer.
Yeah.
They had her doing crazy things on screen that were
That's
not
so funny.
good for her career. But anyway, as you were saying.
Yeah. All that to say, yeah, there's like the kind of canonical things, like Camp Rock, High School Musical. Descendants is a more recent version of that, that I think everybody kind of like knows from a generation. And then there's like the weird, obscure things where it's like this was a music video that was playing during commercials for like a year.
Yes.
And if you were there, you know it, and if you don't, anyway.
Then you weren't.
All this to say, Sabrina Carpenter is on Girl Meets World, a spinoff of Boy Meets World. Which a show that my wife and I love. Have you watched Boy Meets World?
No.
Okay, it's great. She's on that show, and then she does the pop singer thing, where she puts out an album. I think this is like mid 2010s. I think.
Yeah.
I didn't look it up.
I think it is like
2015. If I had to guess,
like 2013 to 2015 is when I think.
And then she's just kind of putting out pop albums.
Yeah.
And they're bad. I think they're bad.
Like mid bad or like this is bad.
I will be generous and say mid bad. Like it's just kind of exactly what we're talking about. Where it's pop music for preteens.
Yeah,
is what it is. Then in 2022, she puts out an album called Emails I Can't Send.
Yes.
An amazing album.
Yeah.
I don't know where this thing came from. It's one of my favorite albums ever. It's incredibly, I think, produced, like just really interestingly. I don't know, like conceived. Like there's sounds on it that I'm like, this is fresh, and it feels like there's actual like new ideas here that are kind of being played with.
Yeah.
And well written songs and melodically catchy, like just a good album. And then there's a song on it called Nonsense. And it is a sexually coded song. Heavily so.
Of course.
I actually was looking at the tracks earlier, and I was noticing that most of the tracks on that album have the explicit tag. That one actually doesn't, even though
it is the most explicit.
It's kind of the most explicit, but I guess it just doesn't have any language in it.
Yeah. That's what it is referring to usually.
And so what she ends up doing on tour with this song is she does these nonsense outros. Are you aware of this? Yes.
Yeah. I actually really enjoy them.
It was cute.
As like
I mean, they're
usually very sexual.
They're all very sexual.
But if you take that part out of it, it's very clever.
Yeah, totally.
She could probably rap if she wanted to.
That's interesting. Yeah.
In terms of just like freestyle.
Yes, she seems very smart and very quick.
You have to be intelligent to do those things. Unfortunately, she's using it for the power of seduction.
Yes.
Only.
Yes. So anyway, on this tour, it's like she found herself. And may we all be so lucky. not in the way that she found herself, but anyway, she does these nonsense outros, and she's like, oh, okay. My brand is hypersexual, but an extremely, for those only listening and not watching, air quotes, innocent sexual, which in some ways there is such a thing as innocent sexual, and we're going to get into that. Yeah. But not the way she's doing it. But when I say innocent, I'm talking about the aesthetic, the vibe, the veneer of it. Like it feels very I don't know, like 50s vintage classic, and that styling makes it feel very kind of light and fun, and to use the word again, innocent.
Yeah,
it feels that way. So she like finds this like energy, right, through this song and through this tour, and is like, this is me now.
Yeah.
I am.
And the bangs.
I am the. She also found the bangs.
Yeah.
She's like, this is my persona now. I am the sexual innuendos girl. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. Where it's like, it's very winking. It's very like
winking with two eyes.
Winking with two eyes. Like very obvious, subtle, which are opposite words. But if you kind of have seen some of the marketing material, That is what it is. It's like very, very clear, but also it's like wink, wink, wink. And so she put out one of the biggest pop albums of all time in 2024.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. Yeah. Which had Espresso on it.
Yeah.
Which had Please, Please, Please. Juno, big hit. And every single track on this album is just deeply sexual. Yeah. And I think Sabrina Carpenter might be the Antichrist.
And cut. That's it.
All this to say, it's extremely immoral. And just so far from God's heart for sexuality. And so again, I was going to say complicated. I don't even know if it's a complicated relationship with her. It's actually very straightforward. It's just that I really think she's incredibly smart and found her niche and like what she could be and be good at and followed it. And if you're talking music industry, good for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think my concern is a lot of young people that I lead are listening to it because it is the music that is popular right now. And I think it is making light of it is darkness masquerading as light.
I remember why this podcast was so long last time.
Because I was yapping?
No.
I've monologued for about 10 minutes now and you haven't said anything.
No, I'm just listening. No, because I have so many thoughts and there's so many tangents that we can go down.
So I've set the table. What do you want to dig into first?
Wow, this is a feast. Look at all these chickens.
Of
I think, oh gosh, wow, this is really okay. So I'm just going to refer to my notes and I'm just going to go down.
Yeah, great.
Because I believe when you sent the topic, you titled it like Sabrina Carpenter and the Christian Sexual Ethic, something like that.
Okay, yeah.
So I was like, what the frick is an ethic?
Okay, great.
Let's just start there.
Yeah.
Me looking directly at the camera. I love interacting with the camera. It just makes things so fun.
You were made. People say you have a face for radio, but now that it's like an insult, right? But now it's
like you actually do have a face.
Yeah.
For something.
For looking to camera. The side eye.
I think really what it is if you watch The Office, you always have a secret camera in your head when something happens that you just like look at.
And the best place you can be in life is to have that friend.
Right.
That you can look
exactly.
at.
And I usually do.
Yeah.
And this time, there's you, but also.
Yeah.
That's me gesturing to the camera.
Am I Steve Carell in this situation?
Maybe.
Just like Sabrina Carpenter is the Antichrist. Sorry,
so I think it's funny because there's a lot of words that we use frequently that we don't really understand. So obviously we have a general understanding of like ethic, moral. What do those things mean? It's talking about good, right, wrong, evil, whatever.
Ethic and moral
they overlap. So a moral, we start with morals.
Okay.
Because a moral is, or morals are, principles or habits with respect to right and wrong conduct.
Right and wrong conduct.
Yes. And a principle, third definition down on dictionary.com, a fundamental doctrine or tenet, a distinctive ruling opinion.
Okay.
So anyway, that is a moral. An ethic is a body of moral principles.
Oh, that's
so
helpful.
What I wrote down is see a moral as a book and an ethic as a library.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
So you have a moral.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then your ethics is just a bunch of morals.
Okay. And this is just basic English.
Just basic English, but just so everyone, this is going to be a long podcast.
It's going to be great.
Okay.
I got nowhere to be except asleep.
It's really interesting though, because something being ethical, technically, of course we're Christians here, so, but taking that part out of it, just talking about things kind of on a very basic level. Ethics are really just what are agreed upon by a culture and a society. There is no, technically speaking, global ethic. Period. Especially when we're talking about ethics that are presented in music versus ethics that are presented in the Christian faith.
So a country like the United States is small enough to have an ethic, but the world is not
big.
Small enough to have an ethic.
Yeah.
Sorry, is too big to have an ethic.
Yes, because there's too many cultures, experiences, religions to have one
It's crazy because the United States is such a vast
Well, I mean, even
cultural,
within the US, right? There are probably different things.
Ethics. Okay.
So, I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay.
As that. The next topic or definition I wanted to tackle kind of leans into sorry everyone, the conversation of the innocent sexuality you were talking about.
Yes.
Because I take pause with the pause taken for Sabrina Carpenter. Because I see everything you're saying and I do agree, but there is also part of me that's like, I don't know, there's something that doesn't sit quite right with the criticism.
Oh, the criticism of her.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because we're using the words, you know what would have helped in my notes if I didn't have everything bolded and bolded?
It's all just so important.
Everything is bolded.
That's really relatable. It's just relatable energy, right. You know? It's like this, and also this.
I will say
also this.
Some of the things are bolded and underlined.
Perhaps some discretion is in order. Yeah. We could just bold whatever.
But I think it's because I have this general discomfort. Not in like the physical sense, but in terms of like the thought doesn't really settle, the dust doesn't settle in my brain when we talk about innocence in this context.
Okay.
Because I feel like as a culture, a little bit of a side tangent, as a culture, and I mean American culture specifically, because this happens in both Christian and non-Christian settings, that someone being conceived of as innocent is almost kind of like a oh my gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a patronizing thing. Like, oh, you're so innocent.
Oh.
Like, oh, you haven't done this? Oh, you're so innocent.
So synonym would be childlike.
Yeah, childlike.
Childlike.
Or childish.
Or pure?
So this is where it gets interesting, right? Because we talk about, again, in context with Sabrina Carpenter, this innocent sexuality, but innocence is often conflated with childlikeness, childhood, all of this stuff, which I wrote in my notes. It makes sense because children on average have like less knowledge and exposure to things. So there is like a general lack of tainting, right? Like there's a joke about like, oh, before I was tainted.
Yes, totally.
But I think we need to, as a culture, both, especially in Christendom, but both in and outside of the church, we need to make a line in the sand regarding the difference between naivety and innocence.
Ooh, yeah. That's a really interesting distinction.
Because innocence, in the sense that we're talking about it here and how you see it talked about everywhere, it's almost used as an antonym for adulthood or maturity. But that is not the case. Right, in terms of like, again, especially in a sexual context.
Yes.
Oh, you haven't done this thing, you're so innocent.
Innocent. Oh, yeah.
You know. However, well, let me find it.
In terms of scripture.
Okay, yes. So this is what I was going to get into. Innocence is actually more to do with purity.
Okay. Yeah.
Morality. And these are the definitions that are listed underneath innocence.
Okay, so innocent. One antonym is like kind of like inexperienced or naive. Okay. One way of thinking about it. But
actually,
no. Not. Okay.
Actually, no. So this is my argument. Sorry, reading through the notes. There might be a lot of cuts you have to make.
It's all good.
Innocence in the dictionary is actually just more to do with purity and actually has a lot to do with legal standing.
That's exactly what I was going to get to. Guilty.
Yes.
Is another opposite of innocence. If you
look up innocence, I think there could be maybe a colloquial influence, like a cultural influence on having naivety as a synonym of innocence, but it actually is not. So innocence and naivety are called, let me find it. I'm finding it. Anyone who's on the internet will find that funny. it's called like asymmetric synonymy.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So basically, innocence can be a synonym for naivety, but not the other way around.
Innocence. Yes.
Naivety
yes.
is
Okay.
showing naivety. The definition of naivety
Yeah.
is having or showing a lack of experience, judgment, or information. So kids are naive.
Yes. Totally.
Mostly. And they're innocent.
Oh, but a kid could be naive and not be innocent.
A kid can be innocent and not.
Right? Like, if a kid doesn't know that they can't steal cookies.
Yes,
but they
exactly.
do,
A kid can be naive but not be innocent.
They are guilty
Yes.
of having stolen a cookie.
Yes.
Or having done anything dumb that a kid would do.
Yeah.
Because they're a kid.
So they're naive but not
They're
innocent.
naive. I almost said it.
Yeah.
They're naive. They're inexperienced. They're not adults. They're not fully developed.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
So we've conflated innocence with ignorance.
Yes.
When really the conflation, well, no one should be conflating anything. But really, there is more of a correlation.
No one should be conflating anything.
Right.
Roni Shasamni.
But really, we should, if we want to put two words side by side,
yes,
it should be ignorance and naivety, not ignorance and innocence.
Say that again.
If we want to put two words next to each other
as antonyms,
as synonyms. If we want to hypothetically conflate two words,
okay,
it should be ignorance and naivety.
Okay.
Not ignorance and innocence.
Okay.
Innocence should not, basically the case I'm pleading right now is based on the actual definition of the word. Innocence should not be a part of this conversation.
I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Because
I like where this is going.
Innocence we get into conversations of purity and impurity.
Okay.
And things like that.
Yes.
Which is a whole other conversation that we can get into, but just to touch on it.
Yeah.
As Christians, one of our biggest issues is purity culture. And stripping somebody of their purity, of their innocence that Jesus died for and says we have. We've been washed white as snow.
Yeah.
Right? We've brought that into the mix wrongfully, in my opinion. So someone's sexual experience should not equate to whether they are pure, aka innocent, or not.
Yes. Purity does not equal innocence.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
Or or I should say purity.
Because...
Or to correct that, sorry.
Okay. And this is just for me to track the conversation.
Yes.
I'm not putting this
you're
anywhere.
all good. Keep tracking it. It's... Okay. To anyone who might want to argue with me, I understand that if we're talking about the Christian sexual ethic or the Christian sexual moral of not having sex before marriage, and we're talking about sins as a falling short or a breaking of codes of whatever, technically, you can say that somebody lost their innocence. But, maybe I was hasty in correcting you there. They have lost their innocence, but they have not lost their purity in the eyes of God.
If they are washed by the blood.
If they've washed by the blood.
Yeah.
If they're washed by the blood.
Yeah.
However, the way we talk about it makes it seem like that is not the case.
Yes, you are capable of losing your purity.
Yes.
By
engaging in
sin.
Sex. Yeah.
Yeah,
or
totally.
Sin, just any kind of sin.
Which something has happened. So what has happened?
What has happened is you have lost your naivety, if you want to put it that way. You are no longer ignorant to something. You've had an experience.
You're experienced.
You've had an experience.
Yeah.
So, sorry, just to lay that foundation. That was something that was really interesting. Especially because, anyway, synonyms with innocent are honest, legitimate, pure, uninvolved, virtuous. So it is problematic to align someone's purity with their actions. You know what I mean? I'm just restating.
I think a lot of people would take issue with that, but I think based on what you're saying and honestly sound theology, if we're really thinking about what purity means, which is white as snow.
White as snow.
It's like, and what we're saying is not like,
it's not revolutionary. It's just actually breaking it down, which makes it seem more complicated, but it's actually, it's not.
Yeah.
I think it's just me and us in this conversation prioritizing the use of language, like being careful with our words. Because a lot of people will say there's this innocence that Sabrina Carpenter has that is wrong because she's, mixing it in with the sexual.
Because we all know that it's a facade.
Right, but it's not a facade because she's not pretending to not know.
Okay. So this is why I think it's really interesting. Yes, it's okay. It's very meta.
Yeah.
Because she's the if you look at any of the like kind of like videos or like marketing material stuff from her tour, even like her opening video, it's very like I Love Lucy. Mm-hmm. It's very like 50s housewife. She's in like a bubble bath.
Yeah.
And it's like it's like a little TV show vignette thing the way that it opens. And it's very like kind of sweet and cute and classic feeling.
Yeah.
And it is a performative innocence.
It's a performative naivety.
Okay, great. Yes.
Totally, but even in that, so maybe we should like go over, like clarify everything we've talked about
where
before
we've been. Okay.
So a moral
is
one belief of what is right and wrong.
Yes.
An ethic is a bunch of morals.
Body of morality. Yes.
Naivety is a lack of experience.
Yes.
It's ignorance. It is what we often confuse with innocence. Yes. Innocence speaks more to your legal and moral standing.
Totally.
And as far as the Christian belief goes, your purity has nothing to do.
Okay. Here's where I want to push back. We'll finish the sentence because I just inferred what you were going to say. Okay. Purity. Okay. If I'm counseling a 19-year-old couple, guy and a girl together,
sure,
I would say
19 is the age that you always pick. Sorry.
Is it? Oh, yeah. I don't know. Sorry.
It doesn't matter. It was just really interesting.
I just am trying to go, for some reason, I'm trying to go not high school. No, actually 17. If I'm like high schoolers, right?
Sure.
A guy and a girl dating.
Yeah.
I would say you guys have, if they're like acting out sexually, if they're engaging in any kind of sexual act together, I would say there is impurity in your life. Does that make sense? Or like, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, so but that's
but purity and innocence are synonyms. They're not the same. So you could say that.
But you would say that I'm wrong in saying that.
I would say that when we have conversations surrounding the topic of sex, we have to be very careful with the words we use.
Okay.
Because colloquially speaking, like I'm not going to walk around being like, technically you should use the word. Everyone knows what you mean by there is impurity in your life if you're speaking like that. Totally. However, possibly, biblically speaking, we've been washed white of snow.
Yes.
As far as
the east is from the west.
I was going to say, so long as we're like repenting, working towards being whatever. Yeah. The only reason I say this is because of the mental toll it takes on people when you tell them they've lost their purity.
Yes.
That's the whole thing. So anyway, I just wanted to lay that foundation before we start talking so people are able to be like, okay, I understand what they were just yapping about. Now we can move on. The reason I wanted to make this distinction is because I wanted to ask whether innocence can be separated from childlikeness in our minds.
Oh, this is breaking my brain.
Because the
Yes.
accusation that is coming against Sabrina Carpenter is there's this innocence. I'm using this word colloquially now. I know we've just go with it.
Yeah.
There's this innocence or naivety that she's bringing to the conversation and display of sex, which is wrong. But it's not wrong. It's what's wrong is the allusion to childlikeness that people have an issue with.
That's the most uncomfortable
which is the most uncomfortable thing about it. But in the Bible, we are called to be innocent. Are we not?
Yes.
So
which version of the word innocent are you using though?
The legal standing one.
Yes, totally.
Which is why I'm saying we need to clarify.
Totally.
Which is why we've clarified before.
Yeah.
So anyway, the reason I went to the lengths and I'm going to the lengths that I am in this conversation is because I think, especially as Christians, we need to be able to separate innocence from childishness or childlikeness.
Okay.
Because the issue, oh gosh, this is such a multi-layered thing. I struggle to, if we can, okay. It's kind of like what we were talking about last time with the cute thing. I'm like, there are just going to be girls who are cute when they are seductive or trying to seduce somebody, which is one of Sabrina Carpenter's crimes, right? She's just cute. She's small. She's cute. She doesn't have the, whatever. But I'm like, is it innately wrong to display cuteness, to display colloquial innocence, if we can separate that from the child side of things? Is there a way to not bring the child stuff, the child perspective into it?
I don't know if I'm tracking because it's all so blatantly sexual.
It is sexual, but people are accusing, okay, this is actually like a much bigger conversation, which is why I have more notes.
Yeah.
But what is the biggest complaint against Sabrina Carpenter? She's small, she looks young.
Yes.
And she does these innuendos.
Yes.
Right. Which makes people think of childishness.
Yes.
Right. And so
we should not be encouraging.
Which we should not be encouraging attraction to.
Yes.
What I am saying is there a way for us to separate innocence from childlikeness or childishness? Because as we've stated before,
yes,
we often use innocence as an antonym to maturity. You know what I'm saying? Whereas in the Bible, we are called to be innocent.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and of course, long story short, I want to get your thoughts on this. Obviously, the answer is no. And I'm not saying it's because it's impossible. I'm just saying there's such a huge cultural weight on innocence and childishness or childlikeness. You just can't separate them. It would take probably many generations to do. But I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Innocence and childlikeness.
Or even naivety and childlikeness. Either one.
I mean, yes.
Okay.
I think I'm a stickler for every word has a different meaning.
Yes.
Every word.
I agree.
Like, even words that are like, we would say are like, very similar. Like, every word has a nuance to it.
I agree.
So for me, what I'm interested in is like honing in on what that nuance is for each of these words. Because childlikeness...
Because childlikeness and childishness are also two different things.
Sure.
Because the Bible doesn't call us to be childish; it calls us to be childlike.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Which is also a very interesting distinction.
Yeah.
But of course, again, when it comes to things of a sexual nature, we do not want children in any part of that.
Yeah.
But if culture has woven childishness or childlikeness, anything to do with children, into the definitions of innocent and naive, it is hard to have a conversation about what innately is wrong, if that makes sense, with what Sabrina Carpenter is doing. If that makes sense. Because is the problem that she's going, oops, I don't know what that is? Or is the problem that she's going, oops, I don't know what that is as a child? You know what I mean?
I'm okay. We've isolated it.
Yeah, there has to be a distinction there.
Okay.
Is there a distinction there?
Not to go even bigger picture.
Bigger picture.
But even bigger.
Go bigger.
Are we talking as Christians, or are we talking as like the world and like definitions?
Both.
Oh, great.
And the reason that, just to put a pin in it so quickly, the reason this is important is because I read an article that accuses Sabrina Carpenter, which I read the article like a week ago.
Okay.
But it accuses Sabrina Carpenter and her marketing team of leaning into imagery that parallels Lolita, which I spent 15 hours of my life listening to, by the way.
Okay.
Do you know what Lolita is?
I don't.
Okay. Lolita is a book written from the perspective of the man.
Okay.
It is a book written about a man who groups a child.
Good. Oh, great.
And all of the things that involves. It's literally about pedophilia.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know about this.
And they are accusing Sabrina Carpenter of leaning into imagery, and Lana Del Rey, and honestly, they bring in trad wives like Nara Smith and Valerie. I'm like, okay, just because someone's wearing bows and frills, it does not mean that they are leaning into the Lolita. I mean, if we want to separate, actually, I'm not even going to go into this. This is already kind of a mind-boggling conversation. Yeah. But the reason I'm being such a stickler on this, and on these definitions, and why I want you to go attack it as a Christian and from the world of definitions, is because that is a big accusation. And having read the book, like we use Lolita colloquially just to kind of mean childlike, this childish thing that shouldn't be here because it's within a sexual context. But I don't think a lot of people have read the book. Yeah. And now having had read the book, we need to be very careful with with the accusations we are throwing out because of the severity of what happens in it.
Okay.
So that was the pin.
Yeah.
Put in that.
I don't.
You don't have to speak to the book.
Totally.
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable in any way. I think as a Christian and as a from the secular side, like as a human, encouraging or condoning any media or imagery or music or art or whatever that encourages attraction
to
childlikeness.
Yeah.
Because
1,000%.
that content, that actual content
from
is available to people.
Yes.
Do you know, right?
No, and so that's why I'm saying, like,
so Sabrina's out here being all cute and small and childlike,
right?
And but highly sexualized,
right?
And so a guy watching of any age, is going to want more of that, and that is, I think, sending energy in that direction.
I agree. I think the difficulty is, would we be having the same conversation if she didn't look the way she looked?
You think she can't help it?
I don't think she can't help it. I think there's definitely things. I mean, she's queen of innuendos, queen of whatever. Yeah. But I do think, because the outfits she's wearing, like, yes, she has a very specific niche, but it's not things we haven't seen before. Other people wear. Like the lingerie stuff is everywhere. Do you think if she had a different, like, literally wasn't as short and had a more sultry face, we'd be having the same conversation?
No.
So then...
Yeah.
And this is, again, I want to make it extremely clear. The reason why I'm going to all of these lengths is because that accusation is so big.
Oh, sure. Okay.
And I'm like, is there even a way, partially in Sabrina's defense, to separate the child stuff? Like, is there? Or is it just like, bro, if you are acting like you don't know what sex is or whatever, you don't know what you're getting into, you are mimicking like childishness, childlikeness, and that innately is wrong? Is there?
It's all really close for me.
It is. Yeah. So there isn't really a way to defend her because she just looks the way she looks.
So okay, I love Lucy.
Okay.
I feel like you could just.
I'm not a big connoisseur of.
That's fine. I just mean. Let's say just say 50s.
Okay.
50s housewife.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is just as much the persona. Not persona. Not 50s housewife literally, but like it again, all the like videos and the aesthetic of the show.
Yeah.
And this was a conversation we had in the first run at this episode.
Yeah.
Is the idea that older things feel more innocent.
Right.
Like there tends to be the
colloquially innocent, everyone.
Yes.
Sorry.
Like yes, thank you. Colloquially innocent. The farther away we get, the more we're like, oh my gosh, people were so quaint back then. They didn't know, like,
literally. Sorry to cut you off again. A word that I'm throwing into the mix again is the word coy, and I think back in the day, people were a lot more coy. This is this wink thing we're talking about.
This is helpful.
Which says artfully or effectively, shy or reserved, slyly hesitant, which is literally what we're talking about. But but this is why this is so tricky, right?
I'm writing down the word.
This is a really, really tricky conversation because what Sabrina's really doing is being 50s housewife coy.
Yes.
But it reads as, in today's context, childlike. And we have to be able, because again, I don't want anyone to think that I am an apologist for anything heinous here.
Yeah.
But if we're going to have these conversations, we have to be really clear of what we're telling people is happening. And I think the biggest issue I had with the Sabrina Carpenter conversation was it wasn't fully clicking in my mind because I was like, there are going to be people who go into sex innocent. There are going to be people who go into sex, colloquially innocent, aka naive. Yes. There are going to be people who look like Sabrina Carpenter does and are just going to be more cute than seductive. And are just going to be more, they're not going to be sultry. And so they're going to fall into this, in some ways, Sabrina Carpenter category of sexuality.
Right.
And we can't accuse those people of being wrong. And so we really have to tackle what's going on here, which is, I think, the conflation of all of these words, coy, innocent, naive, childlike, childish.
Yes.
And we need to be able to surgical strategy.
What's the game? Operation.
Literally Operation. I can see the red nose alight right now. Separate all these words so we can have a progressive conversation about
this. Is one of my foundational beliefs as a human is in definitions and understanding what we're talking about.
Because
I think most of our disagreements in life
are because we don't know.
Because we don't
have a clear boundary of what words mean. And even in this definition, I mean, I'm not using Webster's or Merriam, whatever.
Yeah.
It's dictionary.com, but it's good enough. Even the word here that they have highlighted is coquette, which is the style. It's like that frilly, girly kind of like which is characteristically flirtatious, especially in a teasing, light-hearted manner.
Yes.
Which is often, tying it back, the style of dress that is affiliated with Lolita, like the Lolita style, because it's girlier, right? It's not as, I guess, mature. There's a lot more frills and bows. And like the housewife thing. And it kind of leans into what Sabrina Carpenter is portraying.
Yeah.
Because there is a difference between flirty and sexy. Because flirty
totally
is a lot more kind of like like right, which is what Sabrina Carpenter is doing.
Yeah.
And sexy, which is a lot more kind of like plain, simple kind of.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, you can be flirty in a burlap sack.
Yes.
It's kind of the idea.
You can, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think
that word coy is really helpful.
Back to my original question.
Yeah.
Is there a way to remove the child side of this whole thing? Or is she just damned if she does, damned if she doesn't? Because her niche being coy, her niche literally is just coy.
Yeah.
Reads as...
Okay, so let me parse this then.
Yeah.
Because it really is... The way to talk about it is so different, coming from a biblical perspective and worldview.
Of course.
It is different.
Yes.
And so if I'm sitting down, this is such a ridiculous thought. If I'm sitting down and like counseling Sabrina Carpenter, right? It's like I'm having this exact conversation of like the way you are being styled and presenting yourself right now is coming across as childlike.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. We wouldn't even get to this place because the whole premise is hypersexualized. But within the bubble of that, I'm having this conversation of like, this is what this imagery is associated with. This is what people are thinking about. You are 5 feet tall.
Yeah.
You are cute. You have a round face.
Yeah.
You are not... you're not maybe not aware, right? Assuming the best.
Yeah.
You're not aware of like how you're being perceived and how this might have a very real and negative impact on children in the world.
What that article was. I mean, many articles and many people's arguments.
Yeah.
And I think...
and sorry, just to finish.
Secular,
I'm probably going a little more, you have the right to... present
however maybe
I don't actually think this.
Well, because the reason you couldn't say that is because that still technically kind of goes against the worldly ethic. Which is children
really
are not allowed in this conversation, as they should not be.
Is pretty unanimously agreed upon.
In most cultures.
In most levels.
In pretty much all cultures that we can readily conceive of in our minds, children should not be involved.
Yeah.
This is where it gets interesting. When we start talking about things like, I will not go on my modesty tangent, I promise. But modesty, when it comes to you having an individual relationship with God.
Yeah.
There are certain things that certain people can get away with that others cannot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like, again, let me think of someone. Like a Megan Fox. A Megan Fox could wear what Sabrina Carpenter's wearing and no one is going to conflate her with a child.
Yes.
No one.
My computer.
Yeah. No one is going to go, oh my gosh, Megan Fox, you are reading like this to your audience or to the audience that you're trying to reach. Which seems unfair to a lot of people in terms of, so what, Megan Fox can do it, but Sabrina Carpenter can't do it?
Right. It's a double standard.
It's a double standard.
Literally based on women's bodies.
Yeah. And
which is awkward.
It is awkward.
Yeah.
But it is a conversation that needs to be had because a lot of people, this is a major tangent from, I guess, the original conversation, but a lot of women want, screw that, a lot of people want just like lines in the sand. What can I do and what can I not do? What is right? What is wrong?
Yes.
Can I wear a crop top? Can I not wear a crop top? Can I wear shorts? Can I not wear shorts? And it really is dependent on who you are, unfortunately what you look like, and what the Holy Spirit is saying to you. Which, of course, Sabrina Carpenter does not care what the Holy Spirit is.
I know.
And Megan Fox doesn't. In fact, Megan Fox is very much colluding with the other side.
Yes.
However, I think that is English is hard. I think that is also an important conversation that needs to be had about, let's be really real. Kind of going back to the original question, which is at this point, whatever that word is.
Sabrina Carpenter's sexual ethic?
No. What's that? It's a question that isn't supposed to be answered.
A thesis?
No. A rhetorical question.
Rhetorical question.
Is what Sabrina Carpenter is doing objectively wrong? Like, if it wasn't Sabrina Carpenter doing it, is it wrong? If it was Megan Fox doing this.
It's so self-aware.
You know?
Is what's weird about it. It's like so knowing. And again, brief tangent. I was watching her. She was on the SNL 50th anniversary special. Did an amazing job. And I was watching her in the Domingo sketch. And I was like, which is very funny.
Yeah.
And I was watching her and I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot that you're really smart.
Yeah, no, she's incredibly
because
intelligent.
part of this energy that we're talking about of coy, childlike, whatever you want it to call it.
Right.
Naive definitionally is like
ignorance.
Ignorant and dumb.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like less intelligent, right? And so I've been perceiving her this way over the past couple of years. And I was just watching her comedy and I was like, oh my gosh, you're so intelligent. Like you're so smart.
Yeah.
So all of this is on purpose.
Yeah.
I kind of forget why I went off on this, why I even started talking about
because
this.
I was talking about like objective right and wrong.
So I guess my point is she knows.
She knows.
She's really aware, and her team is really aware of what it is.
Yes.
She clearly, if you look at just even all of her album covers, like
actually, let's do that.
It is so clear that she like steered into the skid on this, and was like, this is what I want to be perceived as. Actually, I'm picturing some of the covers. There is a much kind of more straightforward Megan Fox, since that's the person we're using, kind of sexier look, and I think some of those original covers. I think there's one called Evolution, where it just kind of looks a little bit more, just kind of straight down the middle. Yeah.
She doesn't have the bangs in this one.
Yeah. It's just kind of like mildly sexy.
I think that's just because she's pretty, but it's not like
it's not
innately. She's just, she's just.
Yeah, that might be even overstating it, but
yeah. But yeah, because I mean, I even look at these though.
Feel free to join us, listener at home, or maybe not.
I know. We discourage you. I mean, you've seen
Google
it. You've
Sabrina
seen it.
Carpenter.
Like, sorry, my phone is not. Like, this is not. This is this short.
So we're looking at the cover of Short and Sweet.
That is not like a.
Yeah, that to me feels more of that kind of like 50s.
And this is the 50s pinup thing too.
Yeah.
And I think it's like even. I mean, this is for Espresso. But again,
that looks like a fake album cover.
It could be fake.
That looks fake. Yeah.
It's from it might be fake. I don't know.
The one you just showed me was the album cover for Espresso. I think we really landed on something with coy.
Yeah. So
it's coy.
So here's the thing. So she's being coy.
Yeah.
So now, can we I guess my whole point is there, because again, the title was like Sabrina Carpenter's sexual ethic versus the Christian sexual ethic. Mm-hmm. Is there a moral standing or a moral opinion or whatever take on being coy?
Ha! Wow. Okay, great. Yeah.
I will say, as a kind of addendum to that, there is something to be said about media in the 50s was much more heavily regulated in terms of I think one of the reasons Sabrina Carpenter's coyness comes off so potently sexual is because we are in the era that we are in now, and she can say a lot more things and do a lot more things that they would not maybe have done super mainstream in the 50s. But anyway, that's just like a quick little tag on. Is there something morally wrong with being coy?
Well, I'll just say some obvious things. One is in the context of a marriage. It's pretty much gloves off in terms of what is allowed.
Right.
Whatever you're into.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Just to be very direct.
Yeah.
In terms of like how we do relationships, in terms of like dating, I think coyness. Feel free to push back on me. This is just true like workshopping here.
No, the whole podcast is just.
I think it's pretending to be something you're not. Pretending to have less information than you do. Pretending to be less aware of.
And are you saying that that's wrong? I'm jumping in here because it's manipulative.
It's dishonest. It's deceptive. It's manipulative.
But is it deceptive because if someone was flirting and they were being coy, as one often is when they're flirting,
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't go, that's wrong because you're being
Yeah,
deceptive.
I don't. Yeah, no, I don't know.
I'm looking it up on the etymology dictionary right now.
Yeah. Coy.
Demure.
What's so funny about the word coy is no one actually uses this word, but if you have an understanding of this word, it is very helpful for what we're talking about.
It's something that you would use. Because I guess it's hard. I mean, I'm saying I'm beating a dead horse here because I'm just like, are we condemning Sabrina Carpenter for just being Sabrina Carpenter and coy at the same time?
Here's why I'm condemning, just to be straightforward. Here's why I'm condemning Sabrina Carpenter is because all of her music is about sex, and none of it is under within the bounds of a biblical sexual ethic.
Okay, so
like I just have to say that.
No.
You know what I mean?
That is fine. That is fine. I don't. This is again workshopping here.
Yeah.
That's fine, because as Sabrina Carpenter's music, most music. Honestly, all music. Just kidding. Most music does not fall under the Christian sexual ethic.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people who are not Christian who are also condemning Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah, okay. So non-Christian condemning Sabrina Carpenter. Golly, that's interesting. I definitely don't feel as strongly about it after this conversation.
Because I feel like Sabrina Carpenter and Ariana Grande are kind of similar.
Okay.
Ariana Grande doesn't really lean into she's kind of very straightforward with it, honestly.
Yes.
But she's very cutesy.
Yeah.
She
also small.
Also small.
Yeah.
Also, she can have she doesn't really have like the Megan Fox, like the fox eye, the like Bella Hadid kind of like squinty kind of thing. All very beautiful women, by the way. But literally the dangerous woman, Ariana Grande.
Album cover? Mm-hmm. Is that the bunny one? Little bunny ears? Oh, Playboy.
And that's my thing. I'm no one has come out with the same. Granted, the marketing is very different. I'm not even saying it's remotely similar.
Yeah.
But I do think, like, she's cute. Like, she's cutesy. I mean, there's a lot of going into like the BDSM kind of whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm. If Ariana Grande did this, do you think there'd be a similar pushback? Or is it because there was not a clear line of demarcation between Sabrina Carpenter's old self and her new self? Like Taylor can't come to the phone right now.
Yeah.
Because
it wasn't a hard pivot.
It wasn't a hard pivot. Miley Cyrus literally said, I'm swinging naked on a wrecking ball, on construction mechanics.
What a world 2013 was.
And honestly, we got some bops from that era. But do you think if there was a clearer line of demarcation for Sabrina Carpenter's audience, there would be as much pushback? Because a lot of the other criticisms I'm seeing is she has such a young fan base. Okay. That goes into the conversation about, is it Sabrina Carpenter's fault that she has a young fan base and has young fans that are... It's not her fault. She should steward them well. Knowing she has young fans.
Yes.
But she is, 26? Catering... 26, 27? I think we're the same age. Catering towards an older demographic... And yet the parents of these young fans are not in any way, shape, or form.
25. She's younger than I thought.
She's 25.
I kind of thought she was my age. Ariana Grande is my age.
Right. But that's another issue we can talk about, right? Which is people are like, but Sabrina Carpenter's fans are super young. She's not remotely marketing to a young audience.
Yeah.
So of course, if she knows that her audience is young, she should be aware of that, but she's not trying to market to a young audience. And so do parents have the right to be upset when she's clearly and they can listen to one song
Yeah.
on her album and know, okay, maybe not for my 12-year-old. They can look at one picture, which, I mean, maybe not, because these days everyone is sexual all the time, like in pictures and stuff. But they could look at one of her marketing campaigns and go, maybe not for my 12-year-old child.
Yeah. I hope non-Christian parents have the discernment to make that decision, and Christian parents for what it's worth.
Definitely them as well.
Yeah. Is it Sabrina Carpenter's responsibility?
Is it? Because she's doing at this point, outside of directly saying, if you are under the age of 18, GTFO or GT, get the freak out. Christians listening, GTFO.
Yeah.
Outside of actually explicitly saying that, she's doing everything she can to say, hey, this is for an older audience.
Yeah. So
what do we do? Or not, posing to the question as if we're part of the marketing team.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If we're her team sitting around the table and this article has come out and we're like taking a deep look at our soul,
right?
What are we doing here?
What are we doing?
I think you found a marketing niche that has worked really well for you. Espresso was the biggest song of 2024. Sabrina Carpenter was the biggest artist of 2024, bigger than Taylor Swift. Like, she was number one for that year, and it worked. And it's hard, as someone who just really enjoys pop culture and following the entertainment industry, it's hard for me not to be like, good for you.
Give me your flowers.
You did it.
What would you suggest she does differently?
I was thinking about where she goes from here, because Short and Sweet was so light on its feet.
Yeah.
Like there really are no like ballads on it. There's nothing very heavy on it. It's all kind of up in the. It's in the key of espresso.
Yeah.
Kind of the entire song, the entire album.
The key of E.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh man, where does she go from here? Does she go kind of darker? Does she go like a little bit more? Do you need to get that?
No, I don't.
Does she go more? Reputation. Sabrina can't come to the phone right now.
Right.
That
would actually,
because you have to evolve. You can't just do the same album
And
again.
yeah.
I don't know. I will say I feel a lot less strongly about it from the secular perspective about like what is appropriate for her to be doing.
And I think that was maybe what my biggest wrestle was with because you are not the only person nor the only Christian to come to me with the Sabrina Carpenter dilemma.
Yeah.
And I agree. We should not be promoting things that would encourage pedophilia in any way.
Yeah.
But when you really look at it, it's like, well, and that's it. Just like, well, what is happening here?
Yeah.
And as someone if you're someone who doesn't subscribe to the Christian sexual ethic, go off, queen, I guess.
Well, but so the world does have a sexual ethic.
the world does have it. Does.
I would say, I'll pause it. I'll throw out two morals for you from the world's sexual ethic.
Yes.
One is sexual freedom.
Yes.
You should be free to express yourself sexually.
Yes.
In whatever way that you want to.
Yeah. Whenever.
I would actually say, I don't know if it's number 2. But high on the list is what you said earlier, which is children have no place in sexuality,
right?
In any way.
But then you introduce the word coy to the world's sexual ethic, and things get muddy, a little bit, just a tad.
Yeah. So I don't know, and this is the thing about it just not being under divine wisdom, is it's like ultimately the sexual freedom thing and the children are not involved thing, if you really examine those with a fine-tooth comb, they don't actually work to get. I guess it's like once you turn 18, then that applies.
Yeah.
And also, by the way, your sexual expression, it can't include anyone under 18. But there are also people that are out there that are advocating for that. Like, but I think that's a minority. So it's like it is a minority. I think that a smart, grounded, non-Christian would say, be sexually free, except for pedophilia.
Yes. So you brought to me on a silver platter the whole, like, this doesn't fit into the Christian sexual ethic.
Yes.
Not many artists do. Like, I mean,
no, yeah. The ones that are big are always getting the most attention, just definitionally of popularity. Like it, I work in a high school ministry, and everyone's listening to Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah.
You know, like, and so for me, okay, so let me take the conversation here then.
Take it in.
Why shouldn't a Christian listen to Sabrina Carpenter? Obviously, if you're our age, you know, and everyone's gonna have different convictions about this, and it's like, listen to whatever you feel permission from the Holy Spirit to. But why should a 16-year-old not? And I think 16-year-olds should not, frankly.
Oh, fair. Hey, I mean, if it was a show, it'd be like TV, MA.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe a little less because
I don't know. Short and sweet is so explicit.
It is very explicit. Camaraderie.
It is filthy.
My personal ears. No,
maybe we should have said this all at the beginning, that we both think that this is not something we should be consuming. And
what the problem really is.
Yeah.
Because I do be please, you know what I mean?
And you know, like I can't deny that I do too. Like, yeah.
Even we got really good bad I'm like,
it's a good album.
But
Jack Antonoff worked on this album.
But
it's a
I
good
am
album.
above the age of 16, 10 years removed.
Yes.
Soon to be 11. Wow, crazy.
Anyway,
anyway,
it is.
I think we're talking about Sabrina Carpenter, but Miss Gull, we do love you, whatever. Anything that is very sexually driven, you're just meditating on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what everybody, I don't think I have to really make the case or the argument because science has done it. Pop culture has done it. We always talk about what you think about, what you talk about all the time is how you're going to see the world. It's how you're going to interact with the world. It's how you're going to. And so if all you are listening to is camaraderie, it's like, okay, you're going to start
thinking about
it a lot more than you maybe would have if you didn't, listen to it.
Yeah.
It's like not modesty as in the concept, but modesty like the practice, everything in balance.
Yeah.
You have to know your own limits.
Yeah.
It's like some people, like, there was controversy recently, kind of on this topic, but not really. Megan Thee Stallion, this is a whole topic that we actually will not unpack because it gets into race and all of these things. But there was a influencer who was interviewing Megan Thee Stallion on a red carpet, and she said, when I want to beat someone up or when I want to fight someone, like I put on your music. Talking about like Megan Thee Stallion's music gets her so high that she just wants to give someone the quick old 1, 2, you see? Rattle. So even if it's not like, if we're straying away from the sexual thing, some people don't listen to like certain types of rap music or certain types of other things that like
totally
encourage a certain lifestyle because it puts them in a headspace. There was actually a TikToker. Oh, I wish I could find it. There was a TikToker who was doing an experiment that she doesn't encourage other people to do, where she just listens to one artist or one specific type of music for an entire month. She doesn't listen to anything else. And she said, yeah, it does. It has an effect on your mental health.
Totally.
And the way you see the world and the way you interact with the world.
Yeah. I guess the sub point on this is there a particular reason beyond just blatantly promoting and celebrating sex and sexual freedom? Beyond that, is there a reason I should discourage a 16-year-old from listening to Sabrina Carpenter, specifically in regards to the entire conversation that we just had about coy, naive, childlike, childish?
It's like
beyond the initial kind of, this is why you shouldn't?
I don't really know. I think it's kind of one of those things where it's like, if you don't know how to wield this weapon, just put it down.
Yeah.
In that, like, if you don't, I know we talked about the like within marriage thing, but if you don't know how to be coy, if you don't understand the complexities of why people are asserting that she is encouraging.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Just don't even try and be coy, because you don't know you don't know who you're talking. Like if you're meeting people in the wild, right? You don't know that person's background. I mean, granted, a lot of people who are unwell. I'm just going to say that because I don't want to keep saying that word over and over again. A lot of people who are unwell, they are a minority. So you will likely not run into someone who is into that. However, if you don't know how to be coy, if you don't know why Sabrina Carpenter is catching the flack she's catching, if you're not understanding the subtext, leave it alone. If you're not ready to, or even if you understand it but you can't explain it.
This is
I feel like maybe it should just be left alone.
I fully agree. So this is a yes and.
Yeah.
The hard thing is you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember the actual details of this story because it's actually very applicable. A story from my life as a kid where I can't actually remember what it was, but I heard something on a TV show or movie that I didn't understand. Probably a lot of kids have this experience, right? Didn't understand what it was. And I'm not even keeping it from, I'm not even like not sharing it. I can't remember what it was, but it was something sexual or, in nature. And I like said that, I'm at a private Christian, fundamentalist, like very conservative Christian school.
Yeah.
And I said whatever, the thing was and got in big trouble. But it's like that actually, I should have shared that story earlier because that is such a great example of kind of like that innocent, naive thing.
Yeah.
Where I was naive. I guess I wasn't innocent because I said something that was wrong to say, kind of just objectively at that school, which is fine.
Yeah.
And we should keep. It's okay to keep kids from saying things like that, at school.
Yeah.
If you're a private Christian, school. But I was naive, right?
Yeah.
And so what I was thinking about is these girls that are probably 13, 14, 15 that are watching Sabrina Carpenter have no idea what "Come Ride on Me" means, and are listening to this
and singing the words.
It is, funny enough, the only word coming to mind is penetrating, but but penetrating their minds at such a formative age.
Yeah.
And that is why I jokingly said at the beginning of this conversation that Sabrina Carpenter is the Antichrist. But that's kind of why I use such strong joking language is like the like it feels like such darkness to me.
That was what I was gonna. That was one of the first.
But it aesthetically
is very light.
Is very light and carefree and innocent in all in the colloquial sense.
The mishmashed way.
It's like, this is just.
I don't even know why I'm clutching my pearls like. It's just a little chilly. Just my hands.
It is cold in the garage.
I think I also just am a fidgeter, and if I'm not doing. Something that was interesting that you said just now, but also at the beginning, is it's darkness masquerading as light.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think I want to clarify what you mean by that, because I understand what you mean by that.
Yeah.
However, as someone who is in the business of talking about sex and sexuality and bodies and things, again, kind of like all of that, I want to distinguish what exactly the darkness is. Because in my mind, I go, okay, so and this is really splitting hairs here, but I guess to me it's kind of important. The effect it's having on the naive is dark. But sexuality and the expression of sex within the right contexts, in and of itself, is not darkness. And that was a conversation we had last time. I said it's really interesting because a lot of the words we use, a lot of the things we associate with something being sexual or seductive or whatever is dark. But sex is literally a gift from God, which innately makes it light.
Right.
So that's a really interesting thing as well. And I mean, of course you could, I'm being a little bit, antagonistic.
No, yeah. And I think I don't think I actually have anything interesting to say other than kind of just the basic Christian sexual morality, which is that sex outside of marriage is a really big deal.
Correct.
I know that's not very interesting. But
it's not interesting. I mean, it's interesting to a lot of people because a lot of people don't understand why.
And so anybody that is going to, and you know what? Let's just put all the naive, the innocence, the coy, putting all that aside. Sabrina Carpenter is promoting sex.
Yes.
Sex outside of marriage.
Yes.
And in just like in subtly not so subtle ways, right? And I think my actual point is actually just a lot simpler.
Yeah.
In the darkness as light thing, or
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
it's sex outside of marriage, but it has this really shiny. I don't know. I'm searching for more synonyms, but like,
is it shinier than Beyonce,
I think it is.
Cardi B?
Yes,
because they lean more into the darker
they have a
aesthetic.
dark aesthetic, so it's a little bit easier to put your finger on.
Yeah, I think that just reinforces the notion that.
Does that not feel fair?
It feels. It reinforces my conviction that we need to start having more conversations about sex, because again, in the young formative mind, I agree with what you're saying. Like I'm poking at it, but it's obviously people don't come at Cardi B and Beyonce and literally everybody else because they fall into the status quo.
Yes.
Where Sabrina Carpenter would have
adultery
of what
right?
it is to be a grown woman.
Yes.
That was maybe whatever.
It's easier to point out.
Yeah, and Sabrina Carpenter is going against the mainstream aesthetic, so she sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yes.
However, I do think it's interesting that, again, like I was saying earlier, which you don't have a lot of things to add. I don't. You might, but the whole like all of the words that we use that are affirming sexually are actually negative words innately. Like I said last time, like freak, you're so bad.
Oh,
all
this
of these
is a
things.
whole other conversation.
But it is, but it's not.
Yeah.
Because of the dark aspect, right? We're saying like this is. This darkness is so
normalized.
This is where we
went. This was so interesting.
We have demonized, not in where we're saying it's wrong. Well, actually, yes. Yes, we've demonized sex.
You're so bad.
So much.
Yes.
That when someone, granted, I'm not saying that she's whatever.
Yeah.
But when someone strays away from this dark aesthetic and presentation of sex, we go, that's wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that weird?
That's ironic.
Right? And I mean, again, I'm not saying that
that's
she's
really interesting.
Like presenting it in a way, like, I mean, again, this whole conversation, we're talking about how she's doing it in a way that doesn't fit within the Christian sexual ethic.
Yeah.
But it is interesting, right? Like if we started talking about sex in a positive, in quotations, way, if we're not combining sex with dark aesthetics, it feels odd.
That's so interesting.
Right?
Why
is that?
Well,
I think
I was going to start with why kind of until now, or so rarely, does the world deviate from a darker aesthetic when it comes to sex?
Why does the world deviate?
Sorry, that was a very complicated sentence. Status quo is this is sexy.
Yeah.
It is going to have a darker feel.
You know why? I think tying it back to the beginning.
Yes.
Because we have told people that if they have sex outside of marriage, they aren't pure and they aren't innocent. And the antonyms of those words are innately going to be dark.
Yes.
And so what we've done is said, as a church, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. You are bad, you are bad, you are impure, you are da-da-da-da-da. And they go, oh, impure, huh?
Yeah.
I'll show you what impure is.
Right.
And then we get this entire thing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is obviously one piece of a very, very, very big pie. I think things that aren't supposed to be done are always done in hiding in the dark.
Yes.
Because they're going against the ethic.
We're entering, I don't know if we're entering a new era. We'll have to wait and see. But the reason Sabrina Carpenter stands out is because she's deviating from all of that.
Yeah. Or she's
are we kind of now being hypocritical as Christians, because we're like, wait, we don't like the dark vibe, or do we as Christians actually prefer the dark vibe because it's easier to kind of call out?
We're more accustomed to the dark side.
Because it's easier to be like, stay away from that. Look at that movie poster.
Right,
That's got a thigh on it.
Yeah.
don't watch that.
That's funny.
Versus like, oh look, this is like playing super dumb, like you've never heard of Sabrina Carpenter. Like, oh, a 50s housewife.
Right.
Let's watch this, kids.
Yeah. Yes.
It's like hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I would.
And I think that's why people have got their ganders up.
Yeah.
And why maybe I've got my ganders up.
Gander up, baby. No, I think I do think that is part of what's happening is we aren't used to seeing, even though we are, again, even like a Victoria's Secret angel kind of thing. Have you ever been inside of Victoria's Secret?
Once or twice.
Still
for
kind
good
of
reason.
It's right.
I think.
I mean, unless you're trying to pick stuff out for your wife, it doesn't really. Anyway.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of. Honestly, Victoria's Secret Angel is the only context I can think of right now in which something sexual is aligning with something positive, an angel.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Outside of that, I can't really think of much. And they, you know, and like, so Sabrina Carpenter really is, I mean, I will say, I mean, now we go into branding and we don't even have to go into that.
Yeah.
Victoria's Secret, even though they have the angels and it's pink and all of these things, a lot of the stores were still kind of moodier. Yeah. Dark.
The font,
you know,
the like
ooh la la, whatever.
It's very high contrast imagery.
Mm-hmm. Okay, photographer. So
guilty as charged.
So yeah, no, I think you are right. I think Sabrina Carpenter is pushing a boundary that we are not used to as Christians.
And the one question I just wrote down at the top of my notes that I don't know if we answered this or not. How does the church think about we didn't even, this is not the question that we ended up answering. I wrote down, how does the church think about sex similarly to the world?
They think it's, I would say, I mean, everything that we're saying, right? That we're used to this dark thing. I mean, even, and I'm not a fan of this, because it's just what I'm used to and stuff. But even saying like, oh, my wife is so bad. Like, she's such a bad, like I got a baddie. It's like, why is she not a goodie? I remember doing a poll about this a while ago and being like, why are all the, all the people
really,
called bad,
this is really
you know?
good what you're saying.
Yeah. And that's in the church. Like in the church, we will engage, you know, I have a lot of married friends. You're one of them. I talk about sex and all of these things. And we just kind of, because we poorly stewarded the conversation of sex. The world ran away, obviously. And because then they became the stewards of the sex conversation, because we steered away from it so much. We were like, we're not even going to talk about it. We're not even going to engage with it.
Well, that's so interesting. That's really funny.
We have now had to kind of coalesce. Is that the word I want to use?
I hope it is, because that's a cool sounding word.
The other day, I used the word cacophony.
Oh, that's a great word.
And I was like, okay, linguistics degree.
Cacophony can get, I feel like there's more contexts where cacophony could come up than coalesce.
Grow together into one body. Okay, linguistics degree. Mom, money well spent.
You paid for something.
We've had to.
Coalesce.
We don't have any other art. Okay, basically, long story short, the Christian sexual ethic for a really long time, the way we communicated it was sex is bad, don't have it.
Yes.
Unless you're trying to have kids when you're married.
Yeah. That's putting it kind of strongly.
Which is,
it's like,
right.
Hey, have all the sex you want when you're married, but don't talk about it.
Right. So don't talk about it. And sex education is just abstinence. Just don't have it. And then, you know.
Why do you need education?
Why do you need education if you're not even going to have it?
Why do you need a condom?
And so the world said,
Yeah.
Not everyone follows that ethic.
Yeah.
And even if we are,
yeah,
some people are not sticking to the rules of the game.
Yeah.
So we're going to educate people. And we went, oh, shoot, you're right.
Is that now that's happening? Like when in the timeline?
I don't know when in the
shoot, you're right.
timeline is. But what I can say is that the world is doing a much better job in some ways of educating the populace on sexual things. And because there is, for all intents and purposes, no expression of sex in the church, the only expression we are ever exposed to has nothing to do with God.
That's a whole other conversation. But wow, that's so interesting.
Because
I don't know how you would express it in the church.
Talk about it?
I guess I mean, when you said express, I thought of art. I thought of kind of like...
Right. I mean, there are,
media, imagery, photography.
There are ways. I mean, we don't have to get into it because that's a whole thing.
Yeah. Okay.
But what I can say, what I can speak to is partially the conversation that we got on to last time, which is not only was it's interesting talking about this as a woman as well, because for a long time we were responsible for every man's folly ever.
Yes.
And even in a sexual context with a husband, pleasure was not, we were not considered.
Wasn't about that. Yeah.
We were supposed to literally, I've heard people even recently, not to me, but like older people describing what like leaders in their church said to them, which is just kind of like, oh yeah, sex is for your husband, just kind of like lay there and like, and then have kids. Right. So that was the woman's sexual parameter there.
Yeah.
Was to just exist.
Yeah.
So when you then look at the world and they're saying, you are an active participant in this thing. You matter. You are important. You're an important piece of this puzzle. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to.
Yeah.
If you are in pain, say something. If that is revolutionary. We aren't finding that in the church until recent years. I mean, the people who I'm hearing recounting these stories, like online and stuff, are in their 40s and 50s. It's not like they're super old.
No.
And that's last time we started talking about like vaginismus and stuff, because the way the church has handled it. Actually, I looked up a stat that says anywhere from 1 to 7% to 68% of women have struggled with vaginismus. The reason that it's such a big jump is because a lot of people don't report it, probably because a lot of people don't know what's going on.
Right. Man.
And I think it does probably afflict Christian couples. This is an assumption, but I would bet money on it. This afflicts Christian couples way more than it afflicts people who are not Christian.
Yes.
Because vaginismus there's a lot of causes, but the main causes listed are psychological, a fear, a trauma, an abuse, all things that we don't address in the church or we reinforce, right?
Yeah.
Don't talk about it, don't talk. The amount of people who, and a lot of women, okay, so for those of you who don't know, vaginismus just means the involuntary spasming of the pelvic floor muscles. And the way it was described, I heard it described recently, was honestly brilliant. It's kind of like when someone like goes to poke you in the eye and you just kind of go like that.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah.
And it just causes pain upon any kind of penetration. So there are a lot of girls who are like, I can't put a tampon in because it hurts or it's too tight or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, ooh, baby girl, you might want to look into that. Like literally one of the ways to cure vaginismus is
looking into it.
Therapy.
Yeah.
Deprogramming what you've learned about yourself and your body and sex. Yeah. And this is important because the church has communicated about sex the way it has for so many years. And the tides are only kind of just now changing, but not.
There's a lot. There's some podcasts.
There are podcasts, but you have to like look for them.
Yeah.
No one from the pulpit is recommending them.
Yeah.
Because it's like, fine, as a pastor, you don't want to spend your time talking about sex. I would look at you sideways a little bit. But if you don't, you should be recommending the podcast.
At least offer the resource.
At least offer the resource.
Point people in the right direction. Yeah.
Because people, there are sheep in your flock that are hurting physically, hurting mentally, hurting spiritually. And it doesn't just affect the woman, it affects the guy as well.
Yeah.
Because obviously you can't have a good time if one person isn't having a good time.
Yeah.
So what was even the initial question?
How does the church think about sex similarly to the world, right? Because the church is so it's a provocative question, because I think the church is supposed to be like we think about sex so differently.
Right.
It's like, where do we fall into actually the same trap?
Oh, and what I was going to say is
a
lot of couples that I talk to, the way they talk about sex is it's the same as people outside. Like, I can't really tell the difference outside of
like married couples.
Yeah, married couples, even not married couples, because let's be real, there are Christians who are not married who are having sex.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, I'm very much the same as you, where I'm just like, hey, if it's in the bedroom and you're married, whatever, I don't care. Go off, king. Go off, queen. Do what you want. But it is interesting because the language that is used when I'm talking with my girlfriends, you know, whatever, it's kind of the same. Yeah. I don't know if it means it has to be different. I don't know if even in my assertion of like, I don't think it's super healthy that we're reinforcing sex with all of these with darkness, with all these negative adjectives, with all of this whatever. I don't know if that necessitates changing it. And even if it did necessitate that, it would take a while to do that, because you'd have to reframe so much. It just would not happen in maybe like, it might happen in our lifetime, but it would take a lot of legwork that I don't think people are prepared to do.
Things change glacially.
Yeah.
But I think there is, just because there is so much connectivity now between various churches and social media is a thing. It's like accounts like Kingdom Sexuality.
Yeah.
The more people that follow accounts like that, and kind of like eventually, like when kind of like millennials kind of step into like upper leadership in churches, I think it is just going to change.
I pray so.
Which, not to put on a pedestal millennials as having it all figured out. Like every generation has, blind spots. Yeah. Right?
One thing I will say about the millennials who are in leadership now is, please stop pointing out your smoking hot wife from the pulpit.
Is that a millennial thing, or is that a Gen X thing? Is it millennial? If it is millennial, feel free.
Maybe young Gen X, older millennial.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We know she's pretty. We don't need to know. Thanks.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I ultimately, I mean, it's why I do what I do. It's why I like having conversations like this. It's why I really try and pass through what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because ultimately we can have these conversations and we can say, to hell with Sabrina Carpenter. Ooh, no, I can say that. To heck with Sabrina Carpenter. We can spare a hell here on Joey and Friends. We're PG-13 here. Yeah. No, but we can say to hell with Sabrina Carpenter's marketing team. But at the end of the day, we have to replace it with something.
Yeah.
We need to. If we're gonna,
we need to offer the better way.
We need to offer the better way, and right now we offer a diet worldly way.
That's really interesting. There's a lot more to say about this.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to right now.
Yeah,
I think we've gone a lot of good places.
We've come to the conclusion, the natural conclusion. Ish. Yeah. This is part 1, I guess.
Oh yeah, we'll be back.
Thank you all for listening.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you for listening.
Let us know if this was hard to follow. It was kind of a much brainier conversation.
Yes.
Which is usually the conversations that we like to have.
I think the initial run at it was just so genuinely free flowing. And I think this was like, we were a little more prepared.
Yeah.
But then when you're prepared, you're like, I'm prepared. There's almost more pressure in being prepared, because you're like, I got to nail this now because I like put thought into it. You know what I mean?
I think before it did feel more free flowing, but I was like, again, I'm starting a lot of thoughts that I'm not finishing.
Yeah.
And I'm making a lot of claims that are not, they are based, but I'm not providing a base. So we should maybe, especially because it is such a big and very impactful subject matter.
Yes.
It
affects everybody.
It does. Even if you think it doesn't, it really does.
Yeah.
So anyway, All of that to say, though, I unfortunately will still
be listening to Sabrina Carpenter. You know? That is your want.
I mean, I honestly don't listen to her that much. I'm not even going to lie.
There's a chance I listen to her more than you do.
You do.
I listen to her music regularly.
1,000%. Like, I actually had to look into Sabrina Carpenter, like, go on,
I think Emails is like such a good album. It's such a good album. It's so good.
I remember a friend of mine recommending a song of hers, and I listened to the lyrics from that album. I listened to the lyrics and I was like, wow, God is going places.
Solid. It is 10:34 p.m.
Woo! Oh, we didn't. Oh, no, 15 minutes.
I guess 10:15, but it's okay. Thank you for potting with me for an hour and hour and a half? Hour and 35? I don't know. Who knows? A long time.
You're welcome.
It's a delight.
Anytime.
I love talking to you, Roni.
Yeah.
See you next time.